Hey guys, FilmCrazyAdam here. To those of you that have just stumbled across this channel, I appreciate you rolling the dice and I hope you enjoy what you see. To those of you that continue to roll the dice for some reason, I really appreciate you coming back. I hope I can continue to entertain you, and I hope you continue to enjoy what you see. Anyway, pleasantries out of the way, let's get to the video that you really came to see. So I find myself in the unique position in this particular situation, and that is that I am an outlier when it comes to this new this new sequel series to Quantum Leap. Now, this is going to be an interesting review. Please bear with me, and please join me as I kind of give you my thoughts on not just this episode, but the series in general, and kind of where I'm coming from, my perspective. This is going to be a bit stream of consciousness, so let me tell you right off the bat that right now I still don't have anything bad to say about this series. You know, I'm a little hesitant to say that I like it, but I definitely don't dislike it. I definitely have. There's really nothing I can point out and be like, this sucks, this is terrible, this is horrible. I do have some issues with this series, and I'm going to get to it, but they're not deal breakers. They're not egregious. They're not fundamentally breaking the series or fundamentally just wrong or just terrible script writing. In fact, I don't really have any problem with the script writing. Not really. I do have some issues, like I said, and I'll get to them. So right now, I'll tell you, if you're just here for my review, what do I think about it? I think I'm going to keep going with this. No, I know I'm going to keep going with this, because right now, like I said, I'm waffling. I know I'm waffling, but if I got to say like or dislike, then I'm going to have to go with like. I like it so far. I understand, again, that I am an outlier. I am a bit of a statistical anomaly. I'm probably one of only 7 people who like the series right now. Most reviews that I've read and watched, they're not very favorable. Most rating sites have it at about it's middle of the road. Like, nobody is finding anything god awful about it, but no one is singing its praises either. And don't get me wrong, I'm not singing adulations to the series yet, because I'm still waiting on it. I'm still waiting to see where it goes. There is a bunch of examples I can give, like Doctor Who, specifically the Dave Tennant and Matt Smith years of Doctor Who, the 10th and 11th Doctor, when the series was run, the showrunner was Stephen Moffat. There is a lot in Doctor Who. First of all, there's a lot in Doctor Who that's kind of weird and makes no sense to begin with, and they kind of, and in most episodes they explain it. It's usually very limp-wristed and it's very flimsy, but it's an explanation. They at least give you that much. There's a lot that's put in place in each episode that either makes no sense or seems irrelevant, but by the end of the series, it all adds up. Like, there is an overarching story. There are breadcrumbs, and there are pieces to the puzzle that at the end of it, all of it comes together, and you're like, oh my God, there's an epiphany. Oh! The thing that not only made no sense, but almost seemed like annoying that they even added it into an episode, now is like this pivotal, very important piece to the overall, tapestry of the overarching story in that season, which I think is brilliant. If you can do that, if you can pull something like that off, I love it. If you can drop something and me not know and me not realize that you dropped it, and then it comes up again later, that's awesome. That's my favorite type of writing. Those are my favorite types of movies and stories, when I don't see it coming. Right now, I'm hoping that that's what they're doing with Quantum Leap. There's a lot of stuff that really doesn't, or not a lot of stuff, but there's some stuff that really doesn't make sense, that's really not adding up, but I'm hoping that it's overarching and that it all makes sense in the end. Now, I've seen this done good, like in Doctor Who. I've seen it done really bad. My examples for really bad, they're kind of obscure. Okay, this was done really badly in the TV series Castle, and it was done badly in the TV series Star Trek Enterprise. So there was a thing in Star Trek Enterprise, where they called it the Temporal Cold War. It was this overarching story that about these time travelers from the future that were trying to destroy the Federation before it could become a thing. They're trying to alter the future by effing with the past. And so that was like this subplot that every few episodes these time travelers would suddenly crop up, and like they would start to F with stuff. And so they were doing it, but then there was also an agent from the future as well that was working to foil their plans, so that the Federation does get created. You're kind of led to believe as the audience that, like, it's like this super important, really significant subplot that's going to be overarching, and it's going to be building, and it's going to get to a point where it's going to, it'll eventually become the main focus of the episodes later on in the season, and it'll be this huge epic deal, or this huge epic fight at the end, and it's going to be awesome. And it never was. Before you had social media like Twitter and Facebook, you had message boards, and so like the writers would go to, and this was kind of the beginning of one of the first, it was the precursor to social media, where people could actually post comments. But like, there was no centralized thing like Twitter, where like it's just this one thing where everything exists. Like, you had to know where these message boards are, and then you had to go there, and notifications weren't a thing. All right, I'm sorry. Let me get back on track. And so the fans were saying, like, this is really stupid. Is this going anywhere? What's going on? And eventually they just they realized that the fans didn't care for it, and like even the writers, like, we don't know where we're going with this. And so it just kind of fizzled out. It was, I don't even remember if it was a season finale, but like I just remember it was swept under the rug. Like, it is resolved, but it's real, like, it just farts out in the end. It's really unsatisfactory. It felt so unsatisfying, and it didn't go anywhere. Similarly with Castle, there was a season finale where Castle is marrying Detective Beckett. At the season finale, he's driving on his way to the wedding, and his car goes off the road and it crashes, and we don't know what happened, and then Beckett shows up, and like and Castle's gone. He's not in the car, and like we don't know what happened, and that's it. The season ends there. And then the next season picks up, and it's been 4 months since he's gone missing, and he's found in like a rowboat floating off the coast of like New York or Massachusetts, off the East Coast somewhere. And they get him back, and they're like, "What happened? You've been gone for 4 months." And he's like, "I have." And so you get this sense that he's been involved in some crazy thing. And during that season, there are snippets and like flashes where like he's in the Middle East somewhere, and like he's helping somebody, but we don't know what he's doing there, or why he's there, or what the mission, or whatever. We don't know who brought him there. We don't know who recruited him. We don't know why he's there, why it had to be him. I mean, he's just a novelist from New York who hangs out at the police station to get source material for his next novel. And so it's like, why was this guy taken for like some kind of like CIA level black ops thing? And like, why was he integral? Why, where did he go? Why was his memory wiped? And it was, he was memory wiped. And during the course of the season, like I said, there's slight interaction. Like, he's trying to figure this out. He's trying to do his own investigation. Like, it's such a subplot. Like, it's one of those things where at the end of multiple episodes, you see him in front of like one of those walls with like red yarn everywhere. But it never goes anywhere until finally, like in one episode, like he meets up with somebody from this weird mission, and basically the person, and like it's this crazy thing where he almost dies and other people almost die, and in the end it's like you helped us now, and you're the one that wanted your memory wiped, and now you told us to just walk away, and that's what we're doing, so you do it too, just walk away. And Castle's like, all right, I guess, and that's it. So this huge the huge cliffhanger on season 5, which like you thought was going to be this overarching story that's going to get explained in the next season, never does. They never ever go back to it. They never ever explain. So like that's what I mean, where there have been examples of this overarching thing that you're supposed to believe is significant, but it's not, and they don't go anywhere with it. Like, they paint themselves into a corner, or they build it up to be way bigger than it really is, but they have no idea what they're doing with it. And so in the end, it just kind of farts out at the end. And so I can totally see that happening here in Quantum Leap. Now, I'm familiar with this kind of storytelling because this is actually very familiar to me in many, many anime series that I've watched, where similar to Doctor Who, similar but different to Doctor Who, where a series starts off and S is happening, crazy things where I'm like, I have no point of reference. I have no understanding what's going on. A great example is Shakugano no Shana, where you have this dude from high school. He's walking down the street one day with this classmate of his, and then suddenly everything kind of like freezes. Time stops around him except for him, and he sees this girl with this flowing red glowing hair, and she has this jacket on. She pulls this sword from like basically nowhere out of her jacket, and she starts battling these creatures that are going up to the humans that are standing there, and basically they dissolve into flames. They're just devouring these people, not graphically, but like they're just consuming these people. Like, you don't know what the hell's like, what did I just say to you? Like, you're like, what the hell is going? And so all of this stuff, you just have to take at face value. You have no idea. And in that episode, like, I almost didn't, right now, Shakugano no Shana is one of my favorite series. And I almost just dropped it at the end of, well, at the time, I was buying the DVDs, and I think it was like DVD 1 had like 4 episodes on it. I can't remember now. But, I wasn't gonna pick up the next DVD when it came out. I wasn't picking up the second disc because I was like, I have no idea. Like at the end of 4 episodes, I'm like, I have no idea what the hell is going on. Why is who is this chick? Why does she have a sword? Why does she exist? Basically outside of time, and what's the magic? And like she has a necklace that talks to her and stuff. Like it's really weird. But it was actually a buddy of mine who worked at the mall with me. He was like, dude, no, stick with it, man. It's a good series. And I'm glad I did. By the end of the second disc or second or third disc, I was like, this is good. This is really good. And so again, it's one of my favorite series, but I almost dropped it because I had no idea what was going on in the first few episodes. And so similarly to Quantum Leap, it's like, I don't know where they're going with this. This could be bad. This could be good. And I'm optimistic because the person who created this series is actually the same guy who created the original series, Donald P. Bellisario. He created Quantum Leap, and he also created this one. Or at least his name is on the opening crawl or the opening credits and on the Wikipedia as the creator. There are a couple other people that are also credited with, they're not officially credited, evidently, but bottom line is he's Donald P. Bellisario. The original creator of Quantum Leap is also the creator of the sequel. So right there, I'm like, you know what? I have faith because it's the same guy. It's the same cook coming back into the kitchen with the same recipe. So it's his vision from the original that's continuing on. At least that's my optimistic view, and that's what I'm hoping happens. So yes, I am optimistic. Tentatively, cautiously optimistic. Now, let me get into this episode a little bit, and I'm going to continue my stream of consciousness, but the long and the short of this episode is that Ben has leapt into an astronaut on the space shuttle Atlantis, and they go up into space, and we learn that the person he's jumped into dies on this mission.
Who am I this time?
Your name's David Tamura.
Tamura? Oh, God.
Yes?
David Tamura dies on his first mission, this mission.
We know. Ziggy says there's a 92% chance you're here to prevent that.
And so, right away, it's like, okay, we're pretty sure we know we're here to save him. And very similar to other episodes of Quantum Leap, like I went back and this past week, and I cherry-picked a whole bunch of episodes from the different seasons of the original series, and it was very nostalgic. It was very fun to rewatch these episodes and kind of refresh my knowledge of Quantum Leap, and I'll get to that. But very similar to episodes from the original series is that it's not always, and in fact, I can't remember when it was ever a simple, quick fix to fix the problem where it's not like, okay, if we fix this, the problem's solved. It usually like if we fix, it's usually like they change something and then that leads to a different problem which they have to resolve. And okay, we got to fix that problem, and that goes to a different problem. So in this episode, we don't immediately know why this guy dies on this shuttle mission, because it was classified and it wasn't made public.
Okay, how do I do that?
Well, NASA never released the cause of death publicly, so we're waiting on the classified mission report.
And that's also something that's similar to the original series, where oftentimes, or not oftentimes, but there were plenty of times where Ziggy and Al did not have access to the information. In some cases, it was because it was classified, and in other cases, it was like, well, the records, the records for these people were in this courthouse, and it burnt down, and those were the only copies, and so they were never, they were destroyed in a fire, so like we don't know what happened to them. So that right there, I'm like, you know what? That's this thing where it's like, oh, we don't have the information right now. You know what? That tracks. But so they eventually find out, okay, well, he was killed during a spacewalk, and just like in episodes, I'm going to be saying that a lot, it seems. Just like in episodes of the original series where it's like, well, if he dies here, well, I just don't do that. And then, of course, something transpires that makes it necessary, where it's like, oh, shit, I got to, damn it. The one thing the one thing that I shouldn't do, I got to now do. And there's no avoiding it.
How did David die?
It was on a spacewalk. He got hit by debris.
Okay, well, this is easy. As long as I don't leave the ship, then I can leap, right?
Thing is, we can't land until we close the payload bay doors.
Totally. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
In order to do that, we need to jettison that damaged ISS module.
The explosion fried our remote capabilities.
And the Canadarm got banged up and isn't responding.
So we need you to get out there and toggle the manual release lever.
You need me to...
Suit up. We need you to do an emergency spacewalk.
And so that's why he's got to go out and do a spacewalk. And, they kind of know the time frame, and so like he goes out there and he's able to jettison the payload and avoid getting killed. So good on that. But in doing so, that triggers something else. Like, because the shuttle was in a different position from the original point in history, because in the original history, the shuttle gets back and this guy is the only person that died on it. But now, since he had foreknowledge and they went out early and like quickly jettisoned this thing, and that kind of that shifted the shuttle. When he survived it, the shuttle was in a different position. So what happened was this debris from the initial malfunction comes back around and collides with the shuttle, and he gets bombarded with it, and it kills him. But now, since the shuttle is in a different position from the original history, now the shuttle takes the brunt of it, and the heat shield has been damaged, and so now everybody dies on the shuttle. Instead of just him dying, it's like, now, okay, he gets back in, and they go in to re-enter, and they burn up like Columbia did. And so that's what I mean. Like, all right, we fixed one problem, and now that leads to another problem. Now we got to fix this one, because this one is as bad or worse than the original problem. So that's all tracking. That's one of those things that I don't have a problem with. I'm like, you know what? This is like an episode of the original Quantum Leap. Like, it totally is. So right there, like that, I'm cool with this. I'm tracking. It tracks. Ben is able to convince them in a very Sam-like manner, because like the person, he's got to convince people using future knowledge, but not let them know that he's got future knowledge. Because of course, if you just walked up to somebody on the street and said, hey man, maybe you want to go back into that Starbucks because a car is gonna come and run your ass over, people be like, what are you talking about? It's, I'm from the future, and I know you're gonna die. You would think they're insane. So it's like, so he's got this knowledge, and he knows that. Just like Sam Beckett, Ben, he's like, now that he has the knowledge from the future, he's like, it's because it's been fed to him by, I forget her name now, but it's been fed to him by his hologram. And so he's like, it's like, I have to convince this guy. Like, I can't take no for an answer. Like, how do I convince this guy with future knowledge, but, not tip my hand so that he thinks I'm crazy? And so he's able to do that, and he's like, all right, let's just go to the Russian space station because they got extra oxygen, because that's one of the other issues with the shuttle is that's the reason why they got to get back to Earth so fast, is because they're running out of oxygen, part of the malfunction during takeoff. And so it's like, let's go to this Russian space station. They got extra air, and we can enact repairs and, not die. But again, it's like, how do I convince this guy that we're all gonna? Because he has to convince the commander of the mission. He's like, we're all gonna die if we go in the atmosphere. And the commander's like, well, how do you know it? And it's like, how do you tell him? It's like, well, I got this girl from the future who's told me that we all die. How do you do it? How do you convince somebody? But it's I thought they did it pretty well. In very classic Quantum Leap style. And so that's happening, and that's the story. That's what happens in this episode as far as Ben goes. He saves everybody, and then he leaps out. Now, in addition to that, there's this entire parallel storyline happening in the future. Now, this is one of the things that people are having, people who don't like the series, this is one of their big problems, is that the original episodes of Quantum Leap, until the final season, took place entirely with Sam. We, the audience, never ever left Sam. We were always with Sam. We didn't go back to the future with Al. We didn't exist in the future. We were always, the Sam's second companion, basically. We saw the adventure through his eyes, and we experienced it with him, and we only got the information when Al would show up. So we were, you're in the co-pilot seat with Sam. That was part of the charm of the series, and that was part of what made it a great series. I mean, what made it a great series is that it was a character-driven series. And it was a character-driven series that was acted out by two amazing actors. Amazing. Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell are two amazing actors. Now, they might not always be in amazing things, but they themselves are amazing. On a complete side note, I got an entire list of actors that have done a lot of S movies and a lot of S TV, but they themselves are amazing. Like Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons has been in a lot of bad stuff. Aragon, Beautiful Creatures, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League. Like, he's been in just god-awful movies, but he is always great in the movies. Everything that he's acted in, he's been great in. But I digress, and I get back on topic. One reason why the original Quantum Leap was amazing was it had decent writing, but that writing, you can take okay writing and then turn it and then make a performance unforgettable. I've seen it before. I don't have any examples right now, but you can look it up. They've done this on talk shows or radio shows where they take a scene from a movie or like a line of dialogue from a movie, like iconic lines of dialogue, and you give it to another person, or you just give it to a regular Joe Schmo, and the dialogue has no gravitas to it. It has no feeling. It has no weight behind it when you give it to somebody who isn't talented. So one reason why the series succeeded so well is because you had two amazing actors playing two really interesting characters, and the chemistry between them was awesome. And their own different idiosyncrasies made those characters amazing. And so that's one thing that this new series is lacking at the moment. Crap, I got off topic, but let me finish this thought. Is that right now, and I agree, is that there are no amazing actors other than Ernie Hudson. Ernie Hudson is amazing. He's one of those actors. He's one of those actors where he might not be in great, what he's in might not be amazing, but he's amazing. He's great. All the other actors are they're at best, they're okay. They're ish. The girl who plays the hologram and the girl who plays the head of security aren't really that great. The dude or whatever he identifies as, who is like the head computer engineer, I actually think he's all right. Whatever he identifies as, I think that human is okay, is pretty good. And actually, I think Ben is okay. But again, at best, I can say they're okay. So the acting in this series is not great so far. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So that's my biggest thing against the series, is that the acting ain't great. It's just not. With the original series, up until the final season, the entire story took place with Sam. Now, I don't know if that was because showrunner and creator Don Peep Belisario, I don't know if that was his plan, and it just evolved in the final season where he decided to, to change it a little bit and add these new setting, add the future and add the members of Project Quantum Leap in the future, where we got to see them more often. Like the computer engineer at the time, his name was Gushy. He was referenced in so many episodes.
Gushy? What the hell is going on? Gushy!
He can't hear you. We saw him in the pilot for like 1 second, and then we didn't see Gushy again until Sam switches place with Al in that one episode in I think it's in the end of season 4. But then he actually plays a reoccurring character, and we see him in multiple episodes during the final season. So we're introduced to this crew of people, and even the setting and the location of Project Quantum Leap out in the middle of the Nevada desert. Not Nevada desert or California? I can't remember. But it's out in the middle of the desert somewhere. I don't know if it was because Belisario changed the series as he went, or he now had the budget, like the series as it went on, like it became more popular and so more budget. So I don't know if it's just he got a larger budget, or if it's because he decided to change it up a bit. But so I don't have a problem with seeing this, about cutting back and forth and seeing like this subplot going on. But that's one of the things that the people who aren't who don't like this show right now, that's one of their biggest problems, is that we don't spend a lot of time, or we split our time. Like, I don't know if it's half and half, or we spend more time in the present than we do in the past. But that's a huge thing right now to the people who don't like the series, is that we're not spending the full episode with Ben. We're not just staying with him the whole time. And people are, it's like, it's not really Quantum Leap. We're doing this whole subplot over here and this whole weird thing that's happening in the future, and we're not focusing on Ben. And I can see that. I can totally see that. I don't disagree that, like, there is a split there. But right now, again, like, I'm not far enough into the series where, like, it's... like, that's one of those things where, like I said, it's not a deal breaker, and it isn't something that at this point, even if I do later on say, like, that's an issue, it's still, they can still fix it at this point. They can still recover from this. Like, this might be a fumble, but they still might recover it and get the touchdown. So I get that. I get that for the people who don't like the series right now. I hear you and I understand, and right now it's not a problem for me. The thing that is a problem for me is, and even this, I'm letting it go, or I'm rolling with it, and I'm going to see where it goes. And this is the overarching story part that I was referencing before, where this could be this could be something big, this could be interesting. It also could just fart out at the end and be stupid and be like, ugh, I watched 20 episodes for this. And that is the whole crux of why Ben is stepped into the Quantum Leap Accelerator. Because we established in the first episode that Ben wasn't supposed to be the Leaper. It was supposed to be, what's her name, Audrey? No, Addison. Her name is Addison. The hologram's name is Addison. Addison was supposed to be the Leaper. Now, we don't know why she was supposed to be the Leaper. I'm assuming, like, we're going to learn later on in the series, like, or at least in the season, why she was the original Leaper, why she was the intended person to go through time, and why Ben, I mean, it's kind of implied that Ben is this brilliant computer programmer and one of the main driving forces that restarted the project and kind of the brains behind it. And so it makes sense that, like, okay, he's going to be the one kind of like running the ship in terms, and like also like running the controls. So like if stuff happens, he's the one that you want to be able to pull. If stuff goes sideways, he's the one that can figure it out really quick and like resolve the issue. I get that. So we've learned that Al's daughter, which this is actually an Easter egg, or I should say, yeah. So this is an Easter egg, sidetracking, but relevant. So Al Calavici in the series was in the Navy, and he participated in the Vietnam War. In fact, he was captured and became a POW in Vietnam. We learned this, and we learned this during the course of the series. And Al, during his time on the series and during his time at Project Quantum Leap, has been married like 7 times or something. 7, 8, I can't remember. He's with Tina in the series. I do remember that. He's always talking about Tina. And he is a lovable character. Love Al. He's lovable. He's funny, but he's got a serious. He's got plenty of serious times and chances for Dean Stockwell to exercise his dramatic gravitas, and he does it masterfully in the series. But so he's kind of he comes off as this horn dog, this guy that's like he is. He's horny all the time.
Oh, honey, are you okay?
Am I okay? I'll tell you about it later, when we're in bed.
He's a horn dog, and we learned that he's never really had a marriage that worked. That one thing or another. But we accept for his first marriage. His first marriage when he was married to this woman named Beth. And Beth was who he was married to when he got captured in Vietnam. And so the story of that is that he was captured and he was gone for years, and he was eventually declared as MIA or KIA by the military, and so was presumed dead. And of course, Beth couldn't have known that he was just in a POW camp. And so she moved on, she grieved, she eventually moved on with her life and married, a very nice man, and, had a life and da-da-da. And then years later, when Al finally got released, he returned to the States, and, his wife, he went back to his wife. And of course, at this point, she's got this whole life and got this family, she has kids with this guy. And so, Al, he becomes this kind of, when it comes to romance, he's this broken man inside. And so he just kind of fills it. He tries to fill that hole in him with sex, basically, and he never is able to marry and settle down happily ever again. And which is why he has so many ex-wives and why he's this horn dog. Cause it's a mental coping mechanism for him that he can never replace the heartbreak that he lost, because she was the one. She was his soulmate. And so there's actually an episode in season 2, I believe, of Quantum Leap, the original series, where Sam leaps into somebody within the scope of Beth's life, and Al tries to get Sam without divulging the fact that that's his wife. Tries to, because this other guy, this is when the other guy shows up in her life, and at this point in time, Al's been declared. I do believe he's been declared MIA or KIA at this point, and so she's considered, she's a widow, or at least that she believes she's a widow. And then this guy comes into her life, and he's, like I said, a really nice guy, and they hit it off, and they keep bumping into each other, and eventually that's the guy that she will end up marrying and move on from Al. And Al tries to get Sam to sabotage the meetings with this guy, and until Sam realizes that this is Al's first wife, because he sees a picture of Al in her house, and he looks at Al. He's like, Al, this isn't why I'm here. You can't do this. You can't do this. Change time in a selfish manner to yourself. And Al tries to convince him. He's like, no. You don't understand, man. I'm out there right now in time. I am out there. It's not fair, man. I got a chance through you to fix this. And Sam's like, that's not how we do this. And it's heartbreaking. It's a great scene, and it's a great episode, and it's very heartbreaking. And eventually, Sam realizes why he's there. He saves somebody's life, and he leaps out, but not before Al kind of has a chance to say goodbye to his wife. Fast forward to the series finale, and in fact, it's the final scene in the series where Sam can now control the leaping. And so he leaps directly to that point in time where he leapt out of that episode, and he's able to leap in as himself. He's not occupying someone else's body. It's him. And he sees Beth, and he explains to her,
Beth.
Who are you? How did you get in here?
I'm here to help you. Help you and help Al.
Al.
I'm a friend of Al's. I'm gonna tell you a story, Beth. A story with a happy ending. But instead of starting with once upon a time, let's start with the happy ending. Al's alive. And he's coming home.
Fade to black, and the epilogue on screen, the text on screen basically says that, like, Sam never came home, but Beth waited for Al. He returned home. Al never remarried. They had a daughter, and he continued to work at Project Quantum Leap, and his daughter followed in his footsteps to try and get Sam home, though he never came back. And so it's very heartwarming, and it's a beautiful little happy note that the series ends off on, or bittersweet, because Sam never comes home, but Al gets his happy ending. Al's marriage is saved, and it's it hits you right here in the feels. And so in this series, in episode 2, after they figured out that it's Al's daughter who is working with Ben in episode 1, they can't find her in this episode, and so they're like, well, let's just talk to her mother.
Magic.
Hello, Beth.
And right away, I had a fangasm. Oh my God! It's like, Easter egg! That's Beth! That's Al's first wife! Yes! So, right there, another thing where I'm like, I love this! Or, like, at the very least, I'm loving it. Because the original series was done by Donnie B. This series was done by Donnie B. And, like, he's kept, there are things that, yeah. What am I trying to say? I don't know. No, I do know. He's consistent. The story is unbroken. We're good. It's all tracking. So that was a side note. This thing with his daughter, Al's daughter, which I can't remember her name. But okay, so Ben has been working with Al's daughter on the side. We don't know why. We have no idea. And so here's the subplot. Why is Ben working with Al's daughter on the side? Like, she was part of the project, but she left the project. Why? We don't know. And if she left the project, what was the reason why she left the project? Why? This isn't, as far as we know, it's not a military project. Now, they did mention the Pentagon asking about a power surge in the first episode, but they haven't come out and said this is a military-funded project. This just might be something on the grid that, they haven't come out directly and said this is a military-funded project. So, so it's like, why did Al's daughter leave the program? And why was Ben working with her on the side? Why wasn't that research brought into the project? Why did they have to do this on the sly? Why do they have to be so cloak and dagger about it? What is the reason why Ben had to go back in time? Episode 1 starts off, Al's daughter texts him and like, dude, we got to do this now. What is it? What is the reason why they had to do it right now? Why are they being so secretive? Why didn't they share it with everyone else? Right now, there is no logical, it makes no sense why this stuff happened on the side, why this wasn't included, why Ben kept it a secret, why Ben has been so mysterious in what he's been leaving behind. He left Addison and everybody nothing. He basically left him with the trust me. Just trust me on this one. It's like, I just broke every protocol. I became the Leaper when I was supposed to be the hologram. I reprogrammed Ziggy. I dropped all new code into it with no explanation and, making no sense whatsoever that no one can make heads or tails of.
There were going to be things that I found out about what he did that wouldn't make sense to me. Any of this actually makes sense.
Okay. Why did he jump? What is the reason that it had to be so secretive? It doesn't make any sense right now. And right now, that's the biggest thing I have against the series is this isn't adding up. Again, I'm letting it go because I'm hoping that it does add up later. I've said this before. You don't have to answer all my questions right off the bat, but you do have to answer them at some point. So I'm willing to let it go. I'm willing to roll with it in this case because right now I can see where it could go good. Like I said, I've seen this done right and I've seen this done wrong, and I'm hoping it's the right way. What else? Yeah, there's a few things that kind of are things that are a little too convenient in this episode. Like Addison tears their apartment apart. Now, I don't know why. So, okay, I could see her being a little grief-stricken that her fiance just left and went hurtling through time without saying a word to anybody. Again, I don't know why Ben couldn't have said something to somebody or like left a message explaining to some degree what the hell he's doing. But whatever. He hid a flash drive somewhere in his apartment, like on a bookshelf, and she tore her apartment apart like she was a burglar, tossing the place for goods. Like, why did she trash her apartment like that? Like, I understand being like angry and desperate, but I can't see you trashing your apartment to the point where like somebody shows up, the computer human shows up, and he's like, "What the hell? Oh my god, we need to call the cops."
But the system is back up and running, so it should only be a matter of time before. What? What happened?
Did somebody break in?
You don't think that the people who did this were
No, I did
trying?
this.
You?
Yeah.
What? Why?
I found Ben's phone. He left me a message before he leaked.
Telling you to trash your apartment?
I don't understand why you had to be. I get it. I get people get emotional in stressful situations. Again, your fiance just went hurtling through time. That's kind of stressful. I don't know. I have no doubt that there are people like that out there, but I've never, even in my most stressful situations, I've never thought to myself, let me tear everything apart, because at some point I'd have to put it back together. She finds his flash drive. Later they go to Al's daughter's house, and Magic and the security girl are able to uncover the trapdoor into the basement. They go into the basement. There's all this computer stuff. There's all these calculations on these clear boards. And out of all the computer banks and all of the hard drives there, the security girl is able to, like, she's like, man, all these things are like custom made and really difficult to get into, but don't worry, I'm good at this. And she's able to jimmy open one of these server cabinets, and there's a bunch of hard drives. And before Al's daughter is able to burn the place up and destroy all the evidence, she's able to get one hard drive out, which just happens to be the right hard drive that this thumb drive that was found in the apartment earlier actually plugs into and unlocks. So there's a lot of coincidences, a degree of contrivancy that I'm not very comfortable or very happy with. So that's a lot of BS right there. That like they just happen to find this, and the one piece of technology out of all of the technology there, they just happen to recover the one hard drive that this thing unlocks, and that leads to a whole bunch of other questions like, why was this hard drive and not the other hard drives have this information on it? So there's a lot. There is a degree of like that sounds like some BS right there. So yeah, do I have problems with this episode? Yes, I do. Right now, I'm rolling with it. Am I like why am I being so? Why am I giving this so much rope to hang itself with? Well, it's because, like I said, I'm giving it the chance of there's a lot of stuff that it's doing right. And these aren't deal breakers. Not yet. They still have enough time to make it make sense. We're only in episode 2. So that's all so that's where I'm at on this on Quantum Leap episode 2. I like it. I'm still going to watch it. I know that most people aren't, and most people don't think it's all that great. But that's where I'm at. Now, I don't know if I'm going to continue to do an episode by episode thing. I might kind of wait until a few episodes, like maybe episode 5 or something, is when I might do my next review. I don't know. We'll see. Because, like I said, this might be one of those things where you kind of need to let it breathe before it starts making sense or things start to add up. Or, maybe it's gonna be a quick right out the gate and then immediately trip over itself. So we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'll have an episode 3 review. Maybe it'll be a little bit further down the line. But anyway, that's all I got for now. Talk to you later. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please hit like and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you didn't like what you saw, well, I appreciate you watching all the way to the end, and I hope you come back because maybe I'll have a video in the future that you do like. Other than that, if anyone out there has anything that they wish that I would review, please let me know and I'll try and get to it. Other than that, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.